Lousy booking is the problem. Guys, this is Destination Pro Wrestling. My name is Tony, and usually I set up a green screen, but today I just want to turn on the camera, turn on the microphone, and just kind of be honest and straightforward with today's news. We know that Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are not re-signing with WWE. We know that WWE offered them a multi-million-dollar contract to stay with the company, and it looks like they are not going to do that. And normally I would sit here for a very long time talking about multiple news stories. I would talk about a lot of stuff, but this is huge news. And this is huge news for a variety of reasons. So I just kind of want to shoot straight. I just want to be honest and talk about my personal opinion on this matter. And I want to know what you guys think. Okay, normally I set up the green screen. I throw pictures on the screen, but I'm not putting on a show. I want to talk to you guys based on my opinion and my perspective, and maybe I'm wrong. And if you feel like I'm wrong, go ahead and use the comment section. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me why you think I'm wrong. But I think it is unexcusable for WWE's way of booking Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. The Good Brothers were made such a big deal when WWE announced prematurely that these guys would be signing with WWE. They had blogs and posts and rumors, and WWE was doing this because they wanted people to know that they were coming. They come to WWE, nothing happens. WWE doesn't really capitalize off the Bullet Club success. Some fans were upset that they didn't do it. Some fans got upset that they even remotely thought about referencing any sort of club. And that's the fans, they never make up their own mind when it comes to this wrestling shit. They talk about pro wrestling one way, and the next day they contradict themselves. And that's common in pro wrestling, and that's common in sports, because one day the flavor of the day is different from the next day, and then eventually, that flavor comes back. But the thing here is pro wrestling is at a very interesting point because you have companies like AEW. And AEW is focusing on tag team wrestling. WWE is not. Now, I think it was very easy to say prior to the signing that they weren't going to be successful in WWE, because WWE, just like the broken Matt Hardy gimmick, anything that was successful from before their company, they have a tendency to not really do well with after the fact. And this is a major deal. This is a major, major deal because these two names are big names in the world of pro wrestling. And no, I'm not talking about World Heavyweight Championship status. Not only can I argue that these guys could be very successful in a singles career, whether they're on WWE or AEW, wherever they go, but there's quite a few tag teams in WWE that you just simply can't split up. The Usos, the Revival, it's really hard to move on from these guys. AOP, like these teams are being built and branded as a traditional tag team. And, this is one of those situations where Gallows and Anderson kind of fit that realm. And we know that they're not re-signing with WWE. We know that they turned down multi-million-dollar contracts. But the reason is probably more than likely about the fact that WWE has lousy booking. And normally when I create these news videos, I'm like, yeah, this is what's going on, blah, 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 and I act excited. And this is one of those stories where I couldn't be excited because it was really hard for me to get excited about the fact that a WWE tag team is leaving their company, especially a tag team of this caliber. Like, the amount of missed opportunities. People were talking about Finn Balor beating Brock Lesnar and how it can happen. And turning Finn Balor heel with the club and doing something like that. And then, next thing you know, WWE doesn't do it. And I get it. These are the online fans satisfying their love and their lust for pro wrestling, right? But then when you think creatively, like, these guys aren't being used. Finn Balor needs to be used better. It's like a storyline that makes sense. And logically, there's a lot of pieces that fit to it. And it's like, well, WWE spent a lot of their time bragging about these guys coming to WWE, AJ and Shinsuke and the club. And next thing you know, they're not doing anything with them. So I've learned very quickly, guys, that in the world of pro wrestling, WWE has way too much talent on their hands. It does not shock me that the club is leaving WWE. It does not shock me that they will potentially go to AEW. They've been public about AEW. They've acknowledged them publicly. They're friends with AEW. Tag team wrestling matters there. And they're in a situation where in WWE, they just don't care for tag team wrestling. And I guess it makes sense. But when you have 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 1 hour of 205 Live, 1 hour of NXT, 1 hour of this, there's just so much television, and you're telling me you can't find a place for these guys? I think that's the crazy part about WWE. I'm not saying AEW is a competitor. I'm not saying AEW is even going to do anything to WWE. I don't think they could even dent WWE just because WWE is so big. But it's still an alternative. And if you're somebody who wants to see Bullet Club in WWE, this was the closest that you'll ever have. And WWE dropped the ball. We don't know why. We don't know what changed. But it's happening. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are leaving WWE. They're not staying with WWE. And maybe this report came out from PW Insider because just like the Revival, they ended up getting a tag team title run, and who knows. But as of right now, there's not enough money that would keep these guys, and it makes sense. Sometimes money's not everything. So WWE opened up the checkbook. They said, we want you to stay, but does it shock anybody at this point? You know, all these rumors of major money deals being offered to Kenny, Cody, and the Young Bucks. Same thing that happened to these guys. You know, a set of 4. AJ, Shinsuke, the club. AJ's the only guy who did anything remotely successful. Yeah, you know what? I can understand why people probably didn't want WWE to sign these guys. I get it. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise that they're the guys that are powering AEW. I'll be at Double or Nothing. More than likely, this is going to be a successful event. Whether AEW is successful, it's going to depend on the talent and roster. But if AEW starts signing guys like WWE does, you could just throw it out the window. So hopefully AEW and Impact and all these companies learn from WWE, start developing and start utilizing your talent the right way. And maybe they won't leave. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below of today's news. WWE's former tag team champions. Yeah, I know. It's funny saying that because sometimes you just forget about it. But former WWE tag team champions are leaving WWE. They're not re-signing, and they could very well be going to AEW. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, follow me on Twitter at Tango with Tango. I'll see you next time.